In this video, I'm going to walk through restoring Active Directory from a Windows Server backup. And I'm going to show you two restore options, a full server restore and a system state restore. So a full server restore allows you to restore the entire system to a different machine or different hardware. So for example, I've got this server up here. If it totally crashed, I couldn't even boot it, I just blue screened all the time, I could take this back up and restore it to a brand new virtual machine or physical machine. With a system state restore, you're limited to, it's best to restore it to the same system. It does not work very well if you try to restore it to a different virtual machine or different hardware. So first I'll start with the full restore. And to do this, it requires a full server backup, and I'm using Windows Server Backup here. And it also requires a dedicated disk to back it up to. That way you can detach that disk and attach it to another server. So I'm going to pretend this server here, this is my domain controller. It's got a dedicated backup disk to it, and you can see I've got a bunch of successful full backups here. So like I said, I'm going to pretend the server's just crashed. I can't boot it up. It's got a virus or ransomware on it. So it's dead. I'm just going to shut it down. And I'm going to use my backup and restore it to a brand new server. So this will work with, I'm using Hyper-V. This will work with any hypervisor, VMware, or whatever, or with a physical machine too. So I'm just going to create a new virtual machine. I'm going to call it DC Restore. And then you're gonna create it just like you're going to create a brand new virtual machine. I'm going to boot it up off an ISO. It really doesn't matter which server version you're going to use. You just need to be able to boot into the Windows installation so you can click the repair option. So it's not going to install this operating system. Again, it's just going to boot off the ISO, and then we're going to restore it from the backup. So the virtual machine is created, but now I need to go back to my original server and remove my backup disk, because I want to attach this backup disk to the new server I'm creating. So I'm just going to remove it from this server, and then I'm going to come attach it to this one. And these steps will be a little different depending on what hypervisor you're using. So I'm not gonna walk through every little detail here on the VM settings, because this is going to be different depending on what you use. So I'm just selecting that dedicated backup disk, attaching it to this new server. That way this new server can see the backups. So the server's created, I got the ISO attached to it, the backup disk. Now I will start this VM up, and it'll boot up off the disk or the ISO. I'll click next, and you don't want to click install now. You want to click on repair your computer. And then we're going to click on troubleshoot, and we're going to do system image recovery. And it's going to go scan the disks, and it's found my backup disk, and it's found all the backups on that disk. And I'll just use the latest backup image, but you can select system image and browse through your list of backups, but I'll just go with the most recent, and I'll click next, and it's going to format. It's just letting me know it's going to format the disks. So this is a pretty quick process. Now it's going to go create this new server based off my latest backup. and it just depends on how big your backup is, but mine's basically just the operating system and Active Directory running on it, so it's pretty small. So this is a pretty quick restore process. Okay, restore is complete. So I'll restart. And I don't want to boot off the disk now because we've already restored it, so now we just want it to boot regularly. Okay, the server is booted up. I will log in. Okay, I'm logged in. I've got Active Directory up and I see no errors, so everything looks good. So like I said, the full system restore is my preferred way to back up Active Directory and restore it. It is very fast, and as you just watched, I was able to restore this to a completely new VM, so I didn't have to worry about repairing the operating system. If the backup's good, I can restore it to go back to the original server, and we'll repair just that server. So my original domain controller will do a system state restore, and what that does is it will repair the server. It will repair Active Directory, any critical server files that's corrupt, it will repair that. So you can use this one for when the server boots. You don't seem to have any major problems with the operating system. You can boot in, you can boot it up, and we can repair it that way. So I've got my backup disk attached back to the original domain controller, and when you turn it on, you want to start pressing F8 so we can get into the advanced boot mode. So as soon as I start this, I'm going to press F8, and it looks like I missed it, so I'm going to have to pause this and reboot. Okay, here's the advanced boot options, and you want to select Directory Service Repair Mode. Again, this is for the system state recovery option. This is for repairing the same machine. We're not creating a new machine, we're repairing the existing server. So what this does is boots the computer up into safe mode, which now lets you log into the computer locally. So I'm logging in locally instead of the domain because the domain is unavailable. So when this completely loads, I'll open Windows Server Backup Utility. Okay. So now I'm going to click on Recover, and I'm going to select this server, and here's where you can select which backup, whatever backups you have available, and then I want to select System State. And then you need to consider if you want to perform an authoritative restore. And what this means is it's going to, whatever's recovered on this server, it's going to replicate that out to the other domain controllers. So if you've got multiple sites with multiple domain controllers and you don't want this one to replicate out, then you may not want to do an authoritative restore. But in this example, I've only got this one site, and I'm pretending both domain controllers. But in this example, I've only got this one site, and I'm pretending both domain controllers are down, so I'm just going to make this one the authoritative restore. So select that checkbox if needed and click next. And it's just giving you the warning that it's going to replicate this content out to the other domain controllers. And I will select automatically reboot when it's complete, and I will click recover. It's going to give me another warning. This process takes a while. It's a lot longer than the full recovery. And it'll give you a progress here. I think it took about 10 minutes when it eventually gave me an estimate time. But I'll let this run and I'll pause it, and then when it's completed, I will come back to the video. Okay, restore is complete. I will log in. So after the system state restore, it'll reboot, and it'll pop up with the command line tool letting you know the system state recovery operation started and completed. It says it has errors. Element not.
4 is equals to 3, 12 होता 4 is equals to 3, 12 होता
3 4 is 12
वही बोलो 12 होता मेरा अलग है स्टाइल
Found. I don't know what that means. I'll just press enter and see what happens. So Active Directory opens, seems to be fine. So yep, that is how you restore Active Directory. I showed you two options: the full recovery, which allows you to recover to a different server, and then the system state backup, which recovers is best used to recover on the same machine. So this was a video on how to recover Active Directory. I've got written instructions on it, and I've also got a guide on step-by-step instructions for how to back up Active Directory. So I'll put those in the description. And it's very important to test your backups. You want to do that at least once a year, probably more. You should be able to do that in a test environment so it doesn't affect your production environment. But you want to make sure you test those, because you don't want to end up in a situation where your domain controllers are broke. They got a virus, ransomware, whatever. They're dead and they're not working. You can't recover them. So you don't want to